Righty guys, so I'm just going to do a quick little video on this, well, I wouldn't say it, on the cabinet itself, blasting cabinet, but obviously dust and all that sort of shit's an issue when you're using one of these, and I've just got a normal regular old vacuum cleaner here with a really heavy fabric bag in there so it doesn't tear itself to pieces with the dust and shit. Now I've actually got I've just got like a I don't know what you guys, we call it a mutton cloth over here, which an old cloth, open weave cloth that they used to wrap around sheep carcasses and stuff like that years ago. People don't really seem to use it for that nowadays, but I've got a little piece of that wrapped around the end of this vacuum cleaner. Just so the big stuff doesn't go on there, just like hopefully just the dust. But what happens is the coarser grit from like the walnut and stuff gets stuck on the end of that cloth and then it stops sucking. So I just come up with a little plan, and I'm going to make it out of a piece of exhaust tubing, because basically it's because it's going through a hole that big and it's sucking through a hole that big. Everything gets attracted to that and then gets stuck there. So what I'm going to do, I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you. Just going to make something to put over the end of it to hopefully alleviate that problem. Like it's a bit of a hacky thing. If you've got a shop vac or something like that, you could probably do something as well, something like a bigger nozzle. Like I wouldn't mind getting a proper shop vac that's got a way bigger tube in there to put in there, and I'd probably do something similar. But basically what I'm going to do is make a filter for it that hopefully the dirt and the dust won't hold on to as easily, I guess you would call it, and it's got more suction surface area, so it's going to have less suction. Instead of sucking through a hole like that, it's sucking around the outside of it. I'll show you what I mean. Right, this is what I'm going to do. So this will slip over the end of that tube, and I'll just tape it on with masking tape, duct tape, whatever I've got. It's a slightly loose fit, but it's not real loose, if you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 3 windows in here, 3 or 4 windows in here, and then I'll cut this off, and I'll just either tack a little bit of sheet metal or something on the end of it so it's not sucking through the end, or I could probably just actually leave it open and have this whole surface area so it's sucking through these windows and through the end. So it's not directly sucking through like a small area, so the suction is not as great through these areas. So hopefully the shit doesn't stick to it and it just keeps sucking it'll fall off if it gets attracted to it, more so, if you know what I mean. And just the dust goes through, which is what I'm trying to do, so to clear the dust out, and so the shit doesn't stick to it and then it stops sucking. That's what I'm trying to achieve, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to cut some little windows in here, cut it off. I'll take that bit of mutton cloth off, we call it here, and just tape it back around over the end and over the thing, and then at least it's going to be a bit more open and it's not going to have so much suck through a smaller area. And hopefully that'll solve my problem, because when I get going there with that walnut, yeah, it just attracts to it and builds up, and then within a few minutes it's not clearing, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm trying to avoid, or trying to fix, if you know what I mean. Like when you get a bigger, it's like when you put when you go from a small filter on a carburetor, you see a lot of those guys and they have those tiny little freaking filters on, like on a 4-barrel carburetor on a V8. If you've got one of those big 14-inch ones with the big, like, what are they, like 4-inch filters in them, they can suck in so much more air than some of these little freaking tiny things that barely cover the top of a like a top of a carburetor. Like, this is a bad example, but you know what I mean. Like if you've got a tiny little filter on it that's not much bigger than the opening, like on some of those 4-barrels, and you see some of those little tiny air cleaners that, I don't know, were they about 6 or 7 inches round, I suppose, 8 inches round. But if you got one that's like 14 inches round or whatever they are, and it's like 4 inches deep or even 2 inches deep, there's so much more surface area it can suck that air through than the same thing like on a small filter. It can only suck in so much air. So if you get a bigger surface area, it's not trying to suck so hard through that small thing, so it can actually get more air in. And it's the same principle here. So it's got less airspeed going through here, so the shit shouldn't stick to it. And it should be able to breathe easier and clear the dust easier. That's what I'm hoping anyway. That's the plan. So I'll chop this off and we'll test it. I'll do a quick video just chopping it out, but you pretty much can see what I'm doing. Righty, so this is what I'm doing. If you weren't quite sure what I was doing before, but yeah, so I'm just going to cut another window on that. I'm going to tack, just going to do a couple of little tack welds just to where I've probably cut just a little bit far, just so it doesn't break off. It's a bit awkward, but I'm not trying to be super fussy. It's not for anything pretty, it's just got to be functional. But I will just put a couple of tack welds in where I've gone a bit far, just so it's not weak. And then we'll just whip it off in the end, leave a little bit in the end, I might cut a little bit past that tape. And then we'll just give it a quick clean up with the die grinder and one of those little Rolex discs, just so there's no sharp edges on it. And wrap a bit of cloth around it and tape it onto the end of the vacuum cleaner, and that should solve my problem, hopefully. It's worth a try anyway. Can't be any worse. Sometimes you just got to use what you can, afford or whatever, or what's handy. The old vacuum cleaner, still going, so there's no point replacing it, Replace it when it dies and then get, a good shop vac or something like that. At least it's might be close to that size, but this works. See if I can get this tape off there without destroying what's left of this cloth. I might have some more somewhere, I'm not sure. Just have a look, see if I've got some more, because I'll just slip it over the top that. I'll use that as a secondary filter. You know what I mean? Just see, I think I might have some down there. Sure. Nice video. Yeah, so this is the stuff I'm talking about. Mutton cloth. I'm not sure if you guys use that over in the States or not, or seen it, probably have. See, all I'm going to do is, I only want one layer. Doesn't need to be anything horrendous. Just tape it over there like that, bit of tape around there, at least then the shit shouldn't stick to it so much, if you know what I mean. That's the plan. We'll call that plan B, because that was plan A. Funny bugger, aren't I? Anyway. Yeah, something like that'll do. So all it's got to be, put a bit of tape around that so it doesn't run away at me. And then I'll find a blunt knife and I'll cut that bit off. Or I might just even leave it on. Yeah, I'll just leave it on there. Just go like this. So it fits in there. We'll just have that other piece as a secondary filter. Twin filters. And we'll just take this, throw a bit more tape around here. I can't make it any worse. Can't make it any worse. Because in theory, because I've got so much more surface area down here, it shouldn't actually slide that airflow down to the rest of it. In theory. We'll try that. See if that works now. Plug it back in my hole. Right. Give that a bash and I'll let you know how it works. I'd put the phone in there so you could see, but I'm not going to do that. Right, so I just finished doing some blasting in there. It is sticking there, but it's not as bad. Like, it's not fully clogged up, so it's still, it's still sucking air. It's not blocking up. If I go like you can hear the vacuum cleaner, suction change. Well, that's working pretty well. Still a bit of shit getting on there, but at least it's still fairly open and it's still sucking nicely. But yeah, it's working perfect. For what it is, For a quick hack to just so it keeps working and doesn't block up every few minutes. Because I used to run it open, but it would actually just, the bags, because I was using like just a heavy paper bag in the vacuum cleaner, and it would actually, all of a sudden you'd hear the bag pop inside because it just exploded because of all the grit was running around. So I had nothing on the end of it. Then I started putting the filter on the end of it, but yeah, then it just started blocking that up. So yeah, I just was getting sick of it. So I thought I'll make that little adapter to have more of a surface area, if you know what I mean, for it to suck through, so the shit's not sticking to it so hard, and it's working. So it's cool. Job done. Little tip for you. Oh. You turn it off, Wally. Now we've had it out and you can see. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And that's, if you're on a budget, and you've got a cabinet and you're using an old vacuum like that, or even a shop vac. If you've got a half decent shop vac, the shop vac's not very dear here even, like a half decent one's $100 with one of those fairly good nozzles on it. So if you had one of those plugged into it and you found that like there was no real filtration on it or anything like that, something like that would work quite well. You'd get a bit of tube that was whatever size this is or something similar, cut 3 windows over it and just put a bit of old gauze type cloth on it, even a couple of layers, so it's got plenty of surface here to suck through, but so it's not pulling that big grit through and just the dust is just going through it, if you know what I mean. It's like a pre-filter sort of type thing, because the last thing you want is all the heavy grit going through and then destroying your shop vac. It just makes everything last longer, eh? And it just helps keep it clear in there. Like a bigger vacuum would be better. We could definitely do with a bigger one, but that's what we've got here. That's what we're using in the meantime. At some point, you can buy something better, but it's here. It's a, I don't know, 30-year-old, 40-year-old vacuum cleaner and it's still working fine, so we'll just keep using it until it dies. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers.